Hey guys, Brian here with VetteSource checking in today on what should be a winter day for us here in Southeast Texas, but looks like winter has kind of missed us this year, especially as we're getting closer to February, and it doesn't look like we're going to get to enjoy any cold weather. So whatever, that's the way it is. So today I'm going to answer the age-old question just for fun of Corvettes, the argument of fiberglass versus steel. Now, in all the years I've been doing this, of course, I get to listen to people discuss or argue about whether or not old Corvettes are made out of steel or they're made out of fiberglass, and I can resoundingly say, yes, they're made out of steel, and yes, they will rust away to nothing. So now, that's only a half-truth, really. And if you're wondering why I'm bothering to go over this rusty hunk of steel here, this is in fact what's left, this pitiful looking thing, of a mighty 1969 Big Block 427 Corvette. This is what's left of the rear frame section, and as you can see, it's very much steel and very much will rot and rust away. This is an extreme case, okay? This is a car that came from up north in Minnesota. Love you guys up there, wonderful people and very, very polite and nice, but your roads are horrendous for cars. So this car I dismantled quite a while ago. In fact, I think there's a video on my channel still of me kind of walking around, showing the car in the general condition it was in when I got a hold of it. And if I can find it, I'll put the link up at the top there above, at the top of the video. But this was what was left of the frame after I'd finished dismantling it. And you can see, again, if you've never experienced this before, well, let me go back just a little bit. In the United States, and then maybe other countries use it too, I'm just not familiar. In snowy conditions, you know, salt will be used on the floor, on the roads, simply because it lowers the freezing point of ice so that it won't make it an icy mess when people are trying to drive around. Now, the only problem with that is salt, as you're looking at here, is highly corrosive, and what it does over the years is it just destroys any metal that comes in contact with it. As you can see, it did this. I mean, even the gas tank here assembly. So what I did here was, this was the back section of the car, like I said. This was one of the the rear body mount, excuse me as I cut my finger there on it. The rear body mount right there, and frame rails, and then of course here's your differential. Now this also gives me a good opportunity to go over the differential setups on these Corvettes. I've highlighted the C5 Corvettes and some of the others as far as how they're constructed and what they're put together like. This is the original style independent rear suspension that began in 1963. There's your center diff right there. There's your half shafts out to, that one you can't see very well, out to what we call the trailing arm assemblies. And then over here is your brake rotor, your wheel mount right there. And of course there's your brake caliper. And the trailing arm hangs off of here and would bolt in right here in the corner of the frame pocket. These are the kick-ups. This is what people are looking at all the time when you're looking at a Corvette. So this too is an instructive way to look at what you want to find and what you don't want to find when you're looking at a Corvette to buy. So of course there's the drive shaft right here. So what that does is that just, of course, comes into the back of the transmission, spins the front of the differential, power is transferred 90 degrees out to the sides to your hub assemblies. These are quite bears to get in and out of here. As you see, every pit of this is steel. There's no aluminum in this construction. Even the rear leaf spring on these early cars is steel with a plastic liner between the leaves to try to keep them from corroding, which that leaf spring may actually be savable. So, of course, shock is mounted right there. So, just kind of a good way to look at it. Now, the shims are completely rotted away, but inside of here, there are shims that hold these in place. Now, before you think I'm going to do any attempt to save this thing, this is basically going to just be cut up and harvested for good pieces I have left. Like I said, this was a mighty 427 Big Block car, so obviously I want this. I want the half shafts. Maybe, I don't think that spring, I can look at it from this side, it's going to be no good. And I'll tell you the truth, that may be all I get. I'm going to cut the trailing arms off, turn these brake calipers in for cores, because those are always good core pieces. And I may try to save this back frame rail section here, just because if I need to mock up something, because it's all still here. So, you know, just kind of an interesting way to look at it and see how it's all put together. The center differential is mounted right there in the front, that snubber. And then, of course, there's 4 more bolts that hold it back here on top of this, such that that cross member, that main cross member for the differential. So there's a couple others that I have loose here in the back of the truck already. Yeah, as you can see, definitely a mess on this one. So, you know, it's kind of sad to think that cars that even when they were new, I know everybody gets all hyped up over the high-performance Corvettes now, but guys, let me tell you the truth, even back then, a high-performance Corvette in that day, a high horse or 427s or fuel-y cars, they were special cars even back then. So to see one deteriorate this bad, honestly, is kind of a shame. But you know, sometimes again, life gets in the way, and it just happens. So rarely do I ever see them this bad. So yes, today definitively I'm here to answer the question: is a Corvette made of steel or fiberglass? And yes, it's made of steel. Actually, it's made of fiberglass. So we got a little bit of both. So tomorrow, what I'm going to do is come back at you, and I will probably do a little bit of description of a 10-second how to spot a big block Corvette versus a small block Corvette, which is something that is a frequent question, simply because this is a big dollar business in these old cars. So a lot of guys over the years have cloned and faked big block cars because they're so rare, even to the point of cooking and paperwork and forged paperwork on these cars. So what I'll do real quick tomorrow when I come back is I'll show you real quickly how you can identify a big block Corvette within 5 seconds, just a casual glance. And then the day after that, what I'll do is we'll cut this thing apart, harvest my good pieces. Oh yeah, I forgot, I do want this too. That's a good piece. It's a big block only piece. So stick with me, see if you check back tomorrow. If you've already subscribed, you'll probably get the notification. If not, and you'd like to see what furthermore I do to this car, check the link. I'll put the link up on the end screens there, and if you want to subscribe and get some notifications so you can see when I talk a little bit more about this and tear it apart, it's a good way to do it. So yeah, that's half the battle right there. So thanks again, guys, if you stuck around with me to the very end. Appreciate you watching, and I will be back tomorrow with some more teardown for you action. So we'll see you guys then.